So, making a quick video to talk about this ridiculous truck. It's originally a HSP 94111, maybe. It has a whole bunch of different part numbers and versions and whatever, but it's similar to a Redcat Volcano or a Exceed something. I don't know. It's a bunch of different things. You'll recognize it when you see the actual thing. I have a Skyline R35 drift car 10th scale body on here that I modified a little bit. Had to cut the fenders out a little bit to make sure nothing rubbed, and added an interior sort of. I don't know if you can see it right now because it's all disgusting and dirty, but there's a little interior in there with the driver. And I wired up a little voltage meter and stuff. I think it's an interior from an 8th scale desert truck cut to fit, so it only has one driver. And I use the other half in my other truck, which I'll show you in a second. These voltage meters are great, except that they are not great and not very accurate, and it ended up giving me false alarms all the time, so I don't really use it anymore. But I put in some lights in the front and the back, which have mostly been destroyed after the last season of using them. Pretty much time for a new body, but I just like this look. It's hilarious, especially with these graphics and with the monster truck wheels and styling and everything. It's pretty unique and I like it. That's what's up with that. So here's the underneath. So as you can see, it's similar to many of these 10th scale monster trucks. Wishbones on the bottom and then these single rods on the top, and it's decent until you have power in it and start smashing it around, and then it's just pretty awful and breaks a lot. They're so fun. It's fun enough that it keeps you trying to keep it running and doing stuff, but like I don't know. I don't know honestly either, because I haven't had any experience with a real quote unquote thing. Here's the basic chassis. If you can find shocks that actually have good internals, they're decent. It's got a little bit of damping. I have pretty thick oil in there. I think it's transmission fluid or gear oil or something. Just something I had lying around, and I didn't go get anything specific. Tested a few different weights of oil and basically put in the heaviest stuff. Works great until it gets cold, and then it's a little too stiff. Lots of them, the internals don't fit, so they don't do anything even if you fill them with oil. So that's something to be aware of. These are some of the cheap eBay or Amazon wheels, just 10th scale monster truck wheels. They're bigger than the ones that come on this originally, and I've gotten a few of these. You can see some of them in the background here. These ones were really fun, but I broke one. These ones were also really fun, but I broke one. Both of them broke the center piece out. Not doing anything too gnarly. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Maybe faulty plastic or something. These are the stock ones that come with it, and some of them are broken and they still work decently. You got to vent the tires though, otherwise they fill up with water. So I went through a bunch of different styles of dog bones, tried, you know, CVs style, universal joint style ones, and everything that basically is made for this is terrible and it just falls apart. So regular dog bones are the best because you can just replace them when they break and they'll bend. And I did find some that were slightly thicker that lasted a little bit longer, but they just eventually break and you got to replace them. All of the linkage and stuff on this is just full of slop, and these bearings are old and worn out, but even when all this stuff is brand new, they just have a ton of slop, and it's not great, but it works for smashing them around when you're just a novice like I am. What else have I done in here? So I tried so I upgraded the motor and the ESC and the servo and the receiver and transmitter. So I use a GT5 Flysky GT5 and it's awesome. I tried the GT3 and it was terrible. It was exactly the same basically as the stock one that came with it, but it used twice as much power and was just ridiculous and over the top and didn't do anything good. This one is much more efficient, takes half the batteries. The batteries last a lot longer. You can get a lipo pack for it. I love this thing, and I'm just a fucking idiot. So these are great. If you're looking for a controller and transmitter combo, GT5 is awesome. It has a gyro too, which works really well. So anyways, this is the Hobbywing SCT10 Max10 combo. It's been really great. I have driven this around underwater at the beach multiple times, all over the place. It has far more power than any of these drivetrain components can handle. And, it's one of those things where you got to not use the power or you just break it, especially with a 3S battery. On 2S, it survives pretty well, but if you have a 3S in there, it has the potential to just snap everything all the time. Like right now, the fronts are broken, so it's two-wheel drive. And one of the diffs is broken right now too. But anyways, I love this stuff. This stuff works great. The programming on it's great. This regular cheap Amazon servo, the red one, 25 kg, is awesome. Has worked great, really durable. Same, I had to get a little metal horn for it. Amazon special again. Works great. I'd love to go and buy this stuff from some store, but there just isn't anywhere that sells this stuff because, I mean, who would want to deal with a customer coming back with a truck like this? Yeah, so that's what I've done here. I had to do a little bit of rerouting. Got a hot racing pinion on there, and can't remember what tooth it is. Pretty much the smallest tooth you can fit on there, smallest size to gear it down, because it's too much otherwise. This is a good thing to do if you have this. Cut these out so that you can take this cover off without having to take all those screws out. Makes things a lot easier on you. And then don't even put a screw on this bottom thing, then you can just take that out and that's all good. So not sure if you can see in there, but there's the nice pinion. That's been worked really well. Got a new spur for it when I did that. Got a hardened steel Redcat diff rings and pinions as well, which lasted longer than the regular ones, maybe twice as long, but I'm pretty sure the one of these has blown out, so it didn't last forever, and that was a huge pain in the ass to get in Canada, I'll tell you, because geez, yeah, anyways, if you're in Canada trying to buy any of this stuff, it's a pain in the ass. Another thing I needed to get to be able to fit a taller 3S battery was this Redcat piece. Only where I could find it was from Redcat, and it's for the Volcano EPX. With the diffs, put some silicone earplugs in there. I actually have them in the front, but not the rear. I've tested both earplugged, front earplugged, back earplugged only, and the most stable and sort of durable combination seems to be locked in the front and open in the rear, and that way it tracks nice and straight. It doesn't, I don't know, it seems to work well with this setup, and yeah, that's the best thing you can do. Put those damn earplugs in the diffs. It works so good. The better servo was also huge upgrade. It made the steering so much better. The steering on these are really bad, and I had to do some customizing to sort of figure out the best way to do this. So what I ended up doing is I have sort of a shortened strut, the same thing that's on the servo on this side, instead of the stock Ackerman piece, which is either plastic or aluminum and just immediately gets ovaled out. With this, you can sort of adjust it and have the little swivel balls, which seems to keep less play in that part, which is good. The problem is this upper part here, and to keep the suspension geometry working throughout its travel and not having some kind of crazy toe out or toe in effect when you travel through it. You have to mount this on the top here and the bottom over here. So I have a ball joint pressed on the bottom on this side, and then this is screwed in, and then I got some foam and stuff in there to try to reduce some of the play because there's not enough room to put a proper thing in there, because it will hit the diff when you come in on this side. I don't know if you can see there. So lots of sort of design, inherent design problems that I've been trying to overcome with this, and this seemed to be the best setup for this. Also, I would definitely recommend upgrading these pieces and these pieces to aluminum, the knuckles and the uprights or whatever. I've gone back and forth with these. You know, I went with these because the plastic lets you get tighter with a little less play. The aluminum, because it's pretty low quality, they make it with really high tolerances, so it has tons of play from new, and doesn't flex obviously. But this seems to be a good combination to have the plastic and metal ones down there and the all metal ones up top here. But this all just eventually wears out and has tons of slop and play no matter what you do. I tried using a full aluminum chassis and aluminum suspension mounts, these pieces. It was kind of cool as it made it heavy and it had a different way of behaving, but overall I don't think it's a good way to go. It bent the uprights, the suspension mounts bent almost immediately, and they weigh, both pieces weigh significantly more than the plastic, but these ones especially, because they have so much weight up high, it just puts the center of gravity up even higher than it needs to be. And having that flex, like these are pretty stiff, as long as you get a decent quality one, because that's the thing with this stuff. All of these pieces, there's millions of them available, and the range is from, you know, terrible to not as terrible. And to get the not as terrible stuff, you have to just kind of trial and error through there. Like, anyways, so the plastic works better. It's much lighter and it absorbs impacts a lot better. But the parts that I would recommend changing to metal are all of the suspension, the servo saver, everything except for that Ackerman, and then the uprights and the knuckles. Same in the rear, just the knuckles, not the struts. And then I also, there's a, not sure if I'll be able to get you to see this properly, but in here, the block that holds the hinge pins, there's a separate piece in there, and you can get a aluminum replacement for the plastic one, and that is a good thing because that helps keep things much more stable in there, and it's good. I think what might help with the stripping diffs would be metal gearbox housings, because the plastic ones eventually oval out, which lets the pinion move, changes its relationship to the spur or the ring on the diff, I mean, and then it allows it to strip. And because they're bashing around and flexing a lot, that is what happens. But I think the aluminum would probably just oval out because it's low quality, shitty aluminum. But yeah, the aluminum blocks there, the aluminum upright knuckles, those are good. Also, yeah, obviously all of the internals on this thing are aluminum. It has no slipper or anything. It's just a direct drive, which is why it's constantly breaking dog bones and breaking stuff, because there's nothing to give in there. Especially if you lock up both ends. If you have one unlocked, it has sort of a little bit of an out. Also, I got the aluminum posts, which are a lot more durable because the plastic ones constantly snap off, especially when they're up high like this, which I have to do to fit the sick ass body that I showed you before. So anyways, that's what's up. The last thing is little balloon and some silicone and zip ties and whatever on here to keep the receiver, you know, well, I didn't do that before with the original receiver, and it lasted for like 3 years with no problems, in and out of puddles, the lake all the time. I mean, I'm pretty amazed on how well this thing can deal with water and grime and mud. So yeah, these, I think it's a mod 6 gear. It's really hard to find this exact gear set for this size of shaft. I wanted a 5mm, I think it's a 5mm shaft, to give it a little more stability, and so I could maybe use it for other applications. But yeah, Hot Racing had those. They work awesome, and I have been super psyched with that. Yeah, and then yeah, the receiver with the gyro, you can use that to help go straight. It actually does help because this thing's so short and it has so much power that it just will spin and do all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And it's fun to have the little gyro in there. Yeah, so that's what's up with this one. This is the good one, basically. And then I will show you the other one, which used to be, still is technically my brother's, but I sort of took it over to help maintain it for him and make sure that it runs so that we can have fun with them together, because that's the best thing about these things, is having fun, and it's way more fun with someone else. So here's this one. This is the Silvia S15 drift body. It's completely destroyed. It has the other half of that 8th scale desert truck in there. I even put this one with the thing mounted up in there so he can look at it instead of having a steering wheel. It was amazing. The lights, little buckets. These little bodies are so sweet. They're super cheap. They're like 40 or 50 bucks or something, painted with buckets. They're pretty low quality, and the graphics are so bad that they're funny. It's like, what is super coziness? Like, it's the best. So I love these. Anyways, and I'm gonna get more of them. They don't last. Maybe if you did the trick with some shoe goo and fiberglass or whatever in there to reinforce it, it might work. But anyway, so that's the Silvia. Super coziness. And this is the other truck. It's a little closer to stock. I still had to upgrade the motor on this because his motor was burnt out completely. 32 kV maybe? I honestly can't remember right now. I should know that. And this is the stock ESC that came with it. This is an upgraded, slightly upgraded metal servo instead of the plastic ones that come with it. Stock receiver and everything. This thing, one day the batteries died in the controller. This went full speed into a wall, head on. Only broke a couple of pieces. Cost like 20 bucks maybe to get it running again. These are the shocks that don't have the damping, as you can see. They have the shitty internals. But anyway, so I did some of the same stuff on here. Upgraded the knuckles and the uprights. Did some of the internal stuff with the diffs. Put in the good old earplugs and all that. And these wheels are really great. I love these wheels. They're sort of more of a truck style, but they have a large inner diameter, so they clear everything, and they're super light, so they just spin really easily. And with the lower power, this one only runs on 2S pretty much. This thing is almost bomb-proof. With low power, this chassis does work really well, and it's super fun. It's just light and bouncy, and has just enough power to have fun, but not enough to really destroy itself like the other one does. Yeah, same thing with that. I have the lights and everything in the body on there. Little setup just to plug that into the receiver. The little light kits are just generic light kits that work nicely, and they don't have turning or anything like that. They're just on, because I think it looks dumb when you're like drifting or whatever and your turn signal's on, like. Anyways, so yeah, that's what's up with these. The HSP, I don't know why I can't think of the goddamn the name. It's fun, it's cheap. You're gonna fix it a lot, and those are the things I would recommend. Keep it on 2S. Get the thickest dog bones you can. Put some type of this is something I should have said at the beginning, because this is a really good one. I heard this from a few people online. Springs or rubber or something in there to keep the dog bones sort of pushed in to the cups and keeps them centered. That really helped the longevity of these. And don't replace everything with aluminum. Only replace sort of the minimal steering pieces. Anything that a bearing goes into usually is good. Sort of an ongoing debate, but sort of flexibility versus rigidity and weight and the amount of money it costs to make something good out of aluminum versus make something good out of plastic. Anyways, this has been a long rambling nonsense of a thing. Hopefully it was helpful if there's anyone out there still using these trucks. And yeah, if I ever get something better, I will be so happy to do a comparison and see what the difference is, because I have this fantasy that, you know, if I had a Traxxas Maxus or some kind of, you know, something, an MT410 or whatever, that it just wouldn't break and it would run forever. And I have a feeling that's probably not the case, but they would probably last a little longer than these do. Anyways, that's the end. Sorry for wasting that last however many minutes of your life. And but thanks for listening, and have a lovely day.